Radhe Radhe. Today is Saturday, March 7th, 2026, and here we are to present to you this Bhagavad Gita study recap video for our new chapter, chapter 13, that launched today. Along with me, here is Mummy.
Radhe Radhe.
So let's take a look. New chapter, new set of slides, new content. We were able to cover the introduction, followed by the first four verses 1, 2, 3, and 4. Again, chapter 13. Lots unfolded, lots more to be unfolded. And in the meantime, you can always take a look at the description for this video to get the usual useful links for your reference and continued learning and progress. With that, let us start off with the opening prayer for chapter 13, as well as the first two verses.
Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. अथ त्रयोदशोऽध्यायः क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञविभागयोगः। अर्जुन उवाच प्रकृतिं पुरुषं चैव क्षेत्रं क्षेत्रज्ञम् एव च एतद्वेदितुम् इच्छामि ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं च केशव। श्रीभगवानुवाच इदं शरीरं कौन्तेय क्षेत्रम् इत्यभिधीयते एतद्यो वेत्ति तं प्राहुः क्षेत्रज्ञ इति तद्विदः।
So let's take a look. Introduction, of course, we did cover that in the session. That, as always, is a wonderful, not just introduction, but also a summary of the chapter. So a lot of the terms are just, given a tiny preview here, summarized briefly. We see them at the beginning of the chapter. We'll see them at the end of the chapter as well. But now, again, we put ourselves in Arjun's shoes, in a way, real time, live, waiting for all the subsequent verses to unfold. So, with that, verses 1, 2, 3, and 4, verses 1 and 2, somewhat you can group them together because verse 1 appears in some editions, like this one, doesn't appear in others, but it's just a set of questions. There is no commentary. The questions, of course, are Arjun asking Sri Krishna about four terms that he precisely wants to know about. That is Prakriti, Purush, Kshetra, and Kshetrajna. And then he also wants to know what is true knowledge. We find that out a little later as an aha moment in a way. And then, of course, once you have that knowledge, what is the goal? What is the aim of that knowledge? The catchphrase for that verse, chapter 13, verse 1, therefore, is field of questions. Using field as a pun here in some sense, or another use of the term, but it is literally a field of questions, as we know now about the field, etc. Chapter 13, verse 2, then, Sri Krishna starts to answer some of those questions. So the catchphrase there is fielding questions. Sri Krishna playing that role of Guru, of course, fielding, answering, and responding to all those questions. What does he tell Arjun then? He straight away, in fact, defines that the body is the kshetra, that is the field of activities. And then, as we're talking eventually about knowledge, we need to hear about or know about who knows that knowledge, or let's say who knows that field. So the knower of that field, the knower of the body, that is called Kshetrajna, the knower of the field. And we'll see more, of course, as it comes up. Interestingly, in this verse, Sri Krishna gives credit to sages who are the ones who have discerned the truth about the field and the knower of the field. We'll see, of course, a twist in chapter 13, verse 3. But here again, that credit is there. And so Swamiji tells us in the commentary, we've seen this word often for Arjun and us, vicariously or vicariously. Today we see it as the soul vicariously does all these works through the body, mind, intellect mechanism. So that body again is the field of activities. We see Swamiji talk about the force field when we talk about energy, magnets, electricity, etc. And then, of course, the soul, we are all trying to appreciate and recognize that it is distinct from the body, mind, intellect mechanism. So we are now learning that it is the knower of that field. When we get to that same stage, that transcendental platform, as some of those sages, we can truly, of course, discern the difference. And of course, it's going to come through the grace of God. So if you all recall, we did show this image in the session to help you all remember this visually. You've seen this perhaps in science and or physics classes, the magnetic field, the electric field. So quite self-explanatory there. And then on the right, we now have this sensory field of the body being that receptacle, as Swamiji says. And then if you think about what accompanies it, we have all the different senses, the sense of sight through the eyes, the sense of hearing through the ears, and so on. And they perform and complete all the different activities, or as Mummy said, the experiences that the body does. The soul vicariously does those through the body, mind, intellect mechanism. Next, let's go on and take a look at chapter 13, verses 3 and 4.
क्षेत्रज्ञ चापि मां विद्धि सर्वक्षेत्रेषु भारत क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञोर्ज्ञानं यत्तज्ज्ञानं मतं मम तत्क्षेत्रं यच्च यादृक् च यद्विकारी यतश्च यत् स च यो यत्प्रभावश्च तत्समासेन मे शृणु.
So, chapter 13, verses 3 and 4. Chapter 13, verse 3 has the catchphrase field expert. Sri Krishna, of course, being that true field expert, because he reveals to us that we know now that the soul is the knower of the body, it is the knower of the individual field of activity. But God Himself knows all the individual fields of activity, the Supreme Soul. So, that understanding and that distinguishing is what is presented to us in chapter 13, verse 3. He uses the appellation Bharata, again, giving Arjun that credit, but also the reminder of his lineage. And again, what his role and dharma ought to be from a duty and also a knowledge and a love standpoint. And so, as Swamiji says, these distinctions, Sri Krishna explains the position of the three entities vis-a-vis one another. So the material body, the soul, and the supreme soul. And then we have this interesting comment in the next paragraph. We see the word we saw in class, which is erudite, academically inclined, intellectual, scholarly. But apparently, if all this time we had thought that having great academic success in normal fields of work and education and getting a PhD or a D.Lit, as Swamiji says, if all that was considered being very, very knowledgeable or scholarly, then that is in fact incorrect, because true knowledge, Sri Krishna says, he holds that distinguishing amongst the three to be true knowledge. What is that knowledge? Again, the material body, kshetra, the field of activities. The soul, the knower of that individual field of activities, the knowledge of the body, that is kshetrajna. And then, of course, we have God, the supreme soul. He knows everything. Knowledge is perfect and complete. He, of course, knows all those individual fields of activity. He, of course, also knows all souls. And remember, Mummy reminded us, all souls as tiny fragments of God, as energy-based fragments, are all part of God. So that now is true knowledge. And Sri Krishna says, he uses the word matam, opinion. As we had discussed in class, he many times in the Bhagavad Gita doesn't just outrightly say, you must do this, or this is absolutely what it is. He lets it unfold. He uses punarukti, the repetition concept, to eventually get to conclusions or decisions made by us under his wisdom. So here, he acknowledges again what the sages have discerned, and he says he agrees that is also, in fact, his opinion. And then, as again, a skillful teacher, chapter 13, verse 4, he presents some new questions. Catchphrase here is nature's meadow. Meadow to replace field for variety here, but also because now he will be eventually telling us about the meadow's nature. But it's all part of God, it's nature's meadow. So it goes both ways. He poses a few questions. He will tell Arjun more about the field, more about its nature, changes and activities that take place, and so on. With that, Mummy, I'll pass it over to you to talk us through also everything from the introduction through the four verses and Sanskrit words and so on.
Thank you, Gagan. So, today we are here at the start of new chapter 13. This is the third segment of Bhagavad Gita. We have completed two segments where in the beginning Krishna was talking about Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. And in Bhakti Yoga, he talked about glories of Bhakti, opulences of God. Now, in the third set of these six chapters, he is going to talk about Tattva Gyan. Tattva Gyan is the knowledge, the scriptural knowledge, and terms and principles. Okay. So basically, what Krishna is talking about here, he is talking about Prakriti and Purush. And these are the fundamental concepts in Indian philosophy. And what are they representing? They are representing nature and consciousness. Nature is Prakriti, that is matter, that is primordial matter or material aspect of existence. And what is Purush? Purush is self, spirit. It is what denotes the intelligent principle of the soul. And we all know what is consciousness? It is when soul is there in the body. Then the whole body has that consciousness. Once the soul departs, the body doesn't feel anything, right? So we have to understand these both concepts are the key in understanding the relationship between the individual and the cosmic reality. Okay, so the soul is the perceiver and experiencer, while the body is the medium of experience. That is what we have to understand. Okay, so very important word, prakritim. Prakritim means material nature. Purusham means the enjoyer or experiencer. Kshetram, Kshetram is the field of activities, and Kshetragnyam, that is the knower of the field. So, as we have understood earlier, that our body is made out of five elements, right? If you all remember. And earth, water, fire, air, and space. And then we have this gross body, subtle body, and we have knowledge senses, working senses, life force, energy, prana, mind, intellect, and ego. These are the ones which constitute our body. Our body is made out of all these things. So, once the body dies, then what happens? All the elements are then mixed back into the earth and the soul departs. And that time you would have noticed that there is no consciousness. The body cannot feel anything then. So this is what we are learning in this chapter. Krishna is teaching Arjun that the body is the field and the soul is the experiencer of that field. And what is the experience that we experience through our knowledge and working senses? Okay, we have this taste, touch, smell, sound, sight. Whatever we see, our soul experiences that. Whatever we eat. So, all these experiences, the soul is enjoying. Now it depends on us what kind of experience do we give it to this soul, because otherwise, of course, we all know we are all in agyan, we are totally in momaya, we are materially bound, the soul is also covered with ego. Whenever we think of who am my, it is our connection is only with our body, right? We never understood that we are not the body, but we are soul. So Krishna is specifically teaching here what is the field, Kshetra, and Kshetragnyam, that is the soul who is experiencing whatever we are doing with our senses. So then, what is the lesson here? that we need to keep our senses under control, feed it the right knowledge, because as Swamiji gives an example that whatever a farmer sows, that is what he reaps as the crops. So whatever thoughts come in our mind, those are the actions we keep on doing, and that is how we keep on getting bound in this world. So, if we give the right thoughts, but how do right thoughts come? Right thoughts will come through the right knowledge. So, that is why Swamiji says, Krishna says here, that this is the param knowledge, this is the best knowledge that you need, because you need to know who are you, what is the field, and what is the knower of the field. And the third component is, he says, the knower of all the fields. Sri Krishna says that he is the supreme soul, he is the knower of all the fields, and this is what he holds to be the true knowledge. So, this true knowledge is very, very important. And for us to make distinction between this, to understand this life and live this life in the right way, because otherwise our soul is covered with ego. So, for us, it is very important to learn this Tattva Gyan. And Sri Krishna says that he is the supreme soul and he lives in everybody. He understands all the fields of activities. And so this knowledge will take us high up. Okay, there will be lot of progress. We'll have inner growth. We will experience inner growth, and that is what we need to do. That we need to have a bow and arrow of scriptural knowledge and put the aim with pure sentiments. We have to understand that we are fragment. Individual soul is the fragment of the divine soul. And so the other two verses, mm, there is important word here, tad vidaha, from verse number 2. Tad Tatvidaha, that means those who discern the truth, because Sri Krishna is here saying that it is the sages who have discerned this truth about both the Kshetra and Kshetrajna. And matam, from verse number 3, look at the word matam. Matam is opinion. Opinion means Sri Krishna is giving us all the knowledge. At the same time, he says this is his opinion. Now it is up to us to really understand the importance of all this. And from verse number 4, Yad Vikari means how change takes place. Yes, and we have earlier also understood that how from a baby to a child, to a youth, to an adult, to an old person, how the body keeps changing. Okay? The changes keep on taking place. But inwardly, that soul, that remains the same. So, another word, Shrinu. Shrinu means listen. Sri Krishna is saying, listen carefully. He will explain to us what is the field, what is its nature. Nature is also very, very important, because every soul is coming with previous sanskars. It is carrying those sanskars. So, the field is the whole personality. Remember, our whole personality, that is the field, that is the kshetra, and the soul is the purush, who is the experiencer. That is what we learn in these four verses. Slowly, more and more information will be unveiled, and we will talk in detail. Over to you, Gagan.
Thank you, Mummy. And yeah, let's look at one more image. Of course, the usual flyer that we discussed in class, and you got a chance before the session. So the new chapter, of course, 13 launched. But the question here is, how can you outline the truth about the spiritual field? So outline here, of course, as in literally give us a couple of bullet points, just a short, succinct, set of notes or summary. Literally, of course, taken with the image representing what we are learning. Truly, we have the outline of the field you can see is in the shape of a body. So that body itself, that outline is part of our outline of notes, which is that the body is one element of the truth about the spiritual field. It is, in fact, as we have now seen today, the field of activities. And then we can't see this, it's subtle, but we have the soul, which is the individual knower or the knower of that individual field. We've seen that as well today. So, as part of the chapter 13 title itself, Kshetra Kshetrajna. Again, difficult to pronounce, we'll get it with practice, but we'll see those terms throughout the chapter. So, that's part of the outline of the truth about the spiritual field. And then never forget, God is everywhere. We also have God, of course, Radha Krishna always here, usually at the top left. That is, of course, the Supreme Soul, the knower of all the individual fields. So, all that is part of this outline of the truth about the spiritual field. One tiny bonus homework question for everyone to think about is, of course, visually it looks appealing that there are flowers of different colors here. But if you all go back to chapter 2, in fact, this is actually, we've purposely put it in to represent the soul. Remember again, the soul is subtle, we can't see it, but somewhere in the scriptures and in one commentary for one of the verses in chapter 2, Swamiji has explained how consciousness spreads throughout the body. And there's an analogy using flowers, in fact, flowers in a field or garden or a meadow. Your homework is simply for reference to go and find which verse that is. With that, we're getting towards the end of this recap video. Mommy, is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, very good homework. And if people can comment on the video when they find that verse, it will help everybody else, right? Thank you so much. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. Great idea.
Yeah.
With that, thank you all so much. And we look forward to seeing you next week. That is going to be Saturday, 14th March, 2026, with a catch. It's still 8 a.m. Central Time in North America, but 6:30 p.m. India time. Till then, thank you so much and Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.